but the majority of the incidents relate to ASB, nuisance and personal. So the good thing is, with this extra support that we have, we've got an analyst that's doing all the work, that's drilling down into where this information's coming in from, and then targeting the patrols in those areas. So what the Home Office are expecting to see, by the way, they don't necessarily see that the success is a reduction in antisocial behaviour. They think that antisocial behaviour in those areas where we target and being more visible will actually increase. So you could say that that hotspot that I've identified there that's gone up significantly is a success, because people might have more confidence to report. But I think over the time, and we have got obviously 2 years funding for this, we can get more about the patterns and trends, and I'm sure that the members in those wards will have a little bit more detail around what is actually happening and what people are telling you, which is the most important thing, because we want people to feel safe and be safe, reduce the fear of crime and increase confidence of reporting. So reporting is really, really important at the moment to get that information in that can direct patrol. So I'll do more. Obviously, I'll cover this because it's such an important issue on every update going forward. The other thing that I know you'll be involved with as well, really important for all of us, is the setting of the budget. And preparations are well underway. This will be my third budget as Police and Crime Commissioner. We launched a formal precept consultation in November, asking people how much they were prepared to pay. The online survey closed on the 8th of January, and the results are being analysed to understand the feedback. And the survey's findings and my draft budget will be presented to the Police and Crime panel next week. And I have to say, we've done a lot of work over the summer, reaching communities through their engagement events. And I think we've almost doubled the amount of responses back, and we've got it really understanding what they've said in, say, Middleton St George, to what they've said in communities in Darlington and down to postcode areas. So when we go out and engage, we can be very targeted about what's important to those residents in that area. Looking at domestic abuse, I think we really wanted to support the 16 days of action. And as you know, this is a global campaign aimed at raising awareness and taking action against domestic violence and gender-based abuse against women and girls. And my office also hosted a white ribbon day on the 25th of November at number 40 in Darlington to provide practical and emotional support alongside first aid to anybody in need on a night out, and continue to prevent crime by helping the vulnerable and protection they need. Volunteers are absolutely fantastic, and Darlington's no exception. However, we just have to keep ensuring that we recruit, we get people interested. It's a great opportunity for anybody thinking of a career in the criminal justice sector to come and volunteer at number 40, because they'll meet so many people and hear so many stories and actually what it's like working currently in the areas, as well as what's happening on a night at number 40. So please pass that information on, encourage people to get involved as well. And as you know, I think Lucy Hatch, who's now overseeing the hotspots and immediate justice, played a really key role in there, and she had a great relationship with the local population and people who were given loads of nice gifts and like warm blankets and things for people who found themselves at number 40 on a Saturday night. You'll have also seen, I think, the campaign around serious violence. And I was really pleased that we and to support the Home Office's Winter Homicide campaign. And this was really targeted. I think nationally, about 34% of violent crime occurs in the nighttime economy. So nationally, with my addictions and substance misuse, I sit on the national board for this, with the National Police Chiefs Council lead. So I was really keen that we focusing on, when we're looking at violent crime, this particular group is called ARCH, which is alcohol related crime and homicide. And the homicide, they've identified young men, sort of 20 20 and under 30 are more likely to get involved with altercations on an evening that could lead tragically to what you describe as one-punch incidents. And I met a person in prison who had a business who turned up to remand in his suit, went out for a night out drink, and somebody obviously propositioned his girlfriend. They got into an altercation, and somebody ended up losing his life, and he ended up in prison on remand. So I think that message is really important, and we do work, and I know that, you know, we've done some work in Darlington around the One Punch campaign with Maxine, who sadly lost a son. I think a son was asked for a cigarette by a guy outside of a pub, and then the guy ended up punching him, and he never really regained his health after that and died. So unfortunately, where we've got victims, we have passionate people who don't want it to happen to anybody else. So it's really, really important. We've also been inviting bids for money, should I say, to help us tackle violence, and also the Durham and Darlington Serious Violence Partnership, which I support, is just about to release the grant funding to the successful projects from serious violence. And as part of my responsibility, want to convene the partners, but also the responsibilities have gone to the partner agencies. My role is to then hold them to account for helping to tackle and reduce serious violence. So I'm hoping that fund, in addition to all the other things that we're going on, will benefit the work, really focus on the town centre. And there is some areas that we might need to look at coming back to members, that maybe it's people who weren't successful. How do we do it? How do we show by not having the fund and the impact it's going to have? So I think we have to pick that up and be aware that you know, not everybody's going to be happy with the funding that's going to be released, but I think it's not an end of it. We just need to have that conversation, make representations on their behalf. Now, I'm going to pause there so I can have a drink of coffee if anybody wants to ask any questions on that, and then I'll move on. If anybody wants to come in on any of those things we've talked about. Fancy any hands? I'll just continue. Oh, Councillor Peace?
Yeah, just a quick one. I must admit I haven't been in town drinking in the evening for quite a while. But they used to have like a network of bouncers who kept in contact with each other. Is that still working? Is that effective?
It is, and I think one of the things we've used, I can't remember which Safer Streets, was it 3, sweetie?
Yeah,
we had the Safer Streets funding, and there was some really excellent work going on in Darlington, where they did the training, raised awareness, and I was actually in number 40 when one of the senior doormen had actually brought a very vulnerable lady who said, I know this person and this isn't her. And her drink had been spiked. She had cocaine and cannabis in her drink, but he actually escorted her to number 40, explained what had happened, got the police involved, shared the CCTV, and the training was really, really good. So I know they've done some excellent work on spiking and reducing the violence, but we've also done the training around, obviously, ourselves, as you know, when we go to those areas, how do we act and how do we behave? We've had some really good work. Amanda?
Just to pick up on that point, and I do use the town centre on a Friday and Saturday night on occasion, so I've seen it in action for myself as well. But the security on the doors have radios that are linked into the CCTV room, so they're then able to kind of hear what's going on the doors, see what's going on. The new lighting helps because it makes it all much more visible, linked into the police and linked into number 40. So it's really one whole system working together. It might be council officers, or it might be people employed by the pubs or the police. But on a nighttime, it is one system really working very well together.
Yeah. And I think just on that, again, through the Safer Streets funding that was successful, we were able to replace some of the old cameras as well. So as Amanda said, that intelligence only is sometimes as good as your equipment. And I have to say, Darlington, with the work that they've done, have invested in some really good kit. But you can have the kit, but it's that comms piece between all the people who are working in the nighttime economy is really, really important. And I think Darlington is an exemplar, and I think something that we need to go forward. So I think that is good teamwork. And I think it's where you get these pots of money, you get little bits and a little bit and a little bit, but it all adds up. And I think we just need to keep on, sometimes it's hard. What funding doesn't do, it doesn't allow you to continue doing what works because they expect that to be mainstream, so I can give it to something else. So it is getting really challenging when we all have to make efficiencies. So you don't actually grow the business, it actually contracts. But what we don't want to do is throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we just need to have those conversations probably offline when these funding streams do come in. And then we have that, how do we take that forward, because we don't want to lose it, because we know if we do lose it, it's going to have a negative impact, and then that's too late. We just want to prevent things before they go wrong. So I'll just continue now. So looking at harm reduction, I'm really pleased to share plans for a new centralised drug testing on arrest service for people arrested for domestic abuse who have a substance misuse need. This service, which will begin once the investigative hub is opened, will be aimed at reducing substance-related harms and working with the North East Regional Organised Crime Unit. And also the work that's done in Darlington, I know with the community safety team, the local MP, there's been a lot of work done around illegal vapes, particularly in how it's not just about the vape, and it's the impact it's having on a number of things, including exploitation, and the work that I've seen. There's a lot of harm within the shops, where some of the shops where these vapes are being sold. So I think where we need to look at is the trade and standards have extra powers, but they're working with the police to do that work. And ours wasn't in Darlington, it was over in the east of the Force area. And what we saw in the 3 shops that they were targeted, and again, they were targeted because the intelligence came in to say these shops were selling vapes to children, and had really concerns that they were illegal vapes, very high strength, high dose. And so there's a lot of work going on around that. And I think it's something that I was talking to Graham yesterday, Graham Hall, and he said Darlington's been doing this work for a year, so you're really ahead of the game. But I do think it's, where you close one, another one pops up. And I think we just need to be making representation nationally about, it isn't just about the vapes, it's about where they're getting the vapes from, what it's leading to, the interactions that they're having when they're going into shops and things. So that's on our agenda. So any intelligence you have around that, please do share it, because like I say that it's been taken up by the regional organised crime group. And I think going forward there will be a sort of a debrief pulled forward, that we'll be able to learn some lessons about what's been going on locally. Looking at Road Safety Week, we had, obviously every year we have Break Road Safety Week, which is the largest annual road safety campaign. This year, the initiative was called Let's Talk About Speed. And to support the campaign, we had a video with somebody, Annie Hunter, whose daughter Georgia was seriously injured in a road traffic collision as a result of the driver racing with one of his friends in another car. George is still living with the impact of the incident 3 years later. And as you know, tackling this is, that sort of issue is one of the causes of death and serious injury on our roads, known as the fatal four. And it's a priority, as you can imagine, because it's what the public have asked me to do as well in relation to tackle and dangerous driving, speeding vehicles. I'd also like to sort of going forward, just to flag up, I do want us to get behind Operation Edward, which is every day without a road death. Most of the people who die on our roads, it's preventable, because you have got your mobile phones, you have got your speed, the drug driving, those are not wearing a seatbelt, all of those things can be preventable, but we do have to have that education, encouragement, enforcement, and sometimes it's the conditions of the roads as well. So something, again, nationally I'm leading on, but something I think it's really important, looking at the mayoral side to try and get us signed up to that as a campaign going forward. They also, on the Safer Roads, another busy year, and it was called Operation Limit, and that's our annual drink drug driving campaign. There were 1,735 stops made countywide, and there was 124 irresponsible drivers who were arrested, 44 for drink driving and 53 for drug driving, and 20 unfit drivers and 7 who failed to provide a sample. And again, this is something that I'm pushing nationally, because when you're looking at cannabis or cocaine use, what we've seen when I was at number 40, the lady who was spiked, she was supposed to be taking her parents to the airport the next day, and the drugs will stay in the system. It's, so if we have more police officers who are able to do more drug testing on the roads, hopefully that will reduce the demand for people taking it, because they're more likely to be stopped on the road and prosecuted if they fail the drug test. I also make a case nationally that if anybody does test positive for drink or drugs, that they actually pay for that test and also the administration, so we can actually test more. So it shouldn't be a case of, well, we've only got so many within the area and this is what we can do. I think for the government, putting the resources in roads policing is really important. And then Operation Endurance, and I think you've seen some really good successes in Darlington, still continues. I think I'm going this afternoon, there's going to be a drone, looking at the work that the drones are doing. And I know one recently located quads being used at the back of Eastbourne Sports Complex. A man's been subsequently stopped and 2 vehicles secured. And seized, sorry. So I'm going to stop there again. If anybody wants to come in on any of those issues, I think the drink drug driving is really important, but also we know that the off-road bikes is being tackled as well, and we've been working with Amanda on this and with the partners. I've got Councillor Porter.
Hi, Joy. Thank you very much. I was just going to say, in terms of the drones, it was really good to go down to the local station in Darlington and see that in action. They gave us a demonstration, and it was really good to get that insight. So I think that certainly was beneficial, and it'd be beneficial going forward for those who haven't seen that, maybe to run that again. It was good to be able to speak to the community officers as well for the different areas. So it was really useful, I found, and it gave us the insight into the capability of those drones and just how far they can go, and the images that they get from that and the data. So it was really good to see that.
I think it's excellent. I think the more we obviously the footage that we get of how good they are, because they can fly so high that you don't even know that they're there. They're capturing that information, so anybody is, it's that increase in the risk. And I know that's something that I always use Darlington as an example. That it was the intelligence of where the bikes are being stored and who's driving them, rather than actually when they're doing it, because that's the bit where, if we can get the photographs, and they do use the long range lenses as well to identify bikes and people. But then if that intelligence comes in to give us an idea of where it's going to be, where they're being stored, most people who, if you live in that area, you can see them leaving on a regular basis, and you know that. So Crime Stoppers have done a campaign, so the information can come in 101, chat online, or Crime Stoppers. Councillor Holroyd.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the Road Safety Week and what that will involve on the ground. What we'd like you to see. Are there going to be more speed checks or that sort of thing?
It's sort of that's the one that's gone. There will be a one, I think, going forward. It's Operation Edward. We've been asked to lead on that. So we're just in the process of pulling something together, but we'll keep members appraised of what that looks like. But the good thing is, because of the we've got an excellent Armstrong Roads policing team. Really are head and shoulders above everybody else. For a small team, they are really pushing the weight, and they're using. You'll have seen that the work that they've done with the A1 and working with the victim, and they're passionate about getting that information out to stop it. So the team will be informing what we do and also linking nationally. So as soon as we've got something more firmer, I will definitely share it with everybody, and Sweetie will pick that up to make sure you've got an insight and also suggest something that might we haven't done. There's something that, yeah, okay, no problem.
I just wanted to say that sometimes, you know, people carry on dangerous behaviour with driving until they think they're going to get caught. So,
yeah,
you know, it's just increasing that presence.
I think there's so much potential, and there will be a white paper that comes out. One of the things again that we're pushing for is when you test positive for drink drugs, or you're likely to potentially driving dangerously, to try and get the license taken off them before the court. If you've tested positive for drugs and drink on the roadside and then go and test positive again within custody, it's how long that person is going to be driving before they go to court. So I think there's definitely a grey area there that we can try and cut down on to take these people off the roads as soon as we can. Councillor Pease?
Yeah, on the road safety front, I've got sort of issues trying to get highways to look at sort of accident hotspot areas. We've got some very, very bad junctions. As far as I'm aware, we haven't had a fatality, but some serious crashes. And whenever we put forward, and all the residents know that they're bad, we put ideas forward. And then they say, well, we're not doing that because the police won't enforce it. I mean, I will try and pop in and see you before 6 o'clock tonight to give you the specifics. But I'd just like to see a bit more of a closer working relationship between highways and yourselves to really address some of these issues. I don't want to wait until somebody's killed and then say, well, we told you so and you didn't do anything. Yeah. So we'll cover it more this evening, but I just want to make sure to look at some dodgy junctions, dodgy roundabouts, where bushes are cutting off vision. We had an accident at MSG yesterday at the roundabout. People are blaming lighting, but I think it's the vision. So I just wanted to put that note and warn you we'll have a chat later.
No, good. And the other thing on that, one of the reasons that we're looking at, you know, from Project Edward is like a regional approach. Obviously, County Durham and Darlington work together as a road casualty reduction forum. So you bring in officers and, as in council officers and partners, as well as police officers in a partnership. But what I find sometimes it's frustrating is we bordering on North Yorkshire, we bordering on Northumbria, and they've got different policies that impact upon my residents in a positive way, that they would say, that we haven't got within our force. So there's a bit of pushback between what we currently do and what we could do if we looked at collectively how we enforce and change the roads and the speed of the roads within our area. You know, the speed cameras is always mentioned from my side, because there's some in different areas where the border's there and then there isn't, then there is. So there is, it's all up for discussion. The other positive thing that I think is I'm really, again, from a resident's point of view, we don't want any road deaths before anybody sort of sits up and listens. But what's recorded is killed and seriously injured. That's what the stats are. So, I mean, I used to be on highways in County Durham, and the officers would say, no problems. And that the residents will be screaming like, yes, there is. And it's because all the near misses, the bumps, the collisions, you know, overturned vehicles, that there wasn't a serious injury or anybody killed. It doesn't appear on the stats. It just doesn't appear on that road. So members are making decisions without the full information about actually what that's happening on that road. Cumbria is actually piloting something that's real-time data that has all of the things that's happening on a stretch of road, and that's something that we could see rolled out to other forces in the future. So again, we can talk about that later on this evening. Right, so just go back onto where we are. Safer Countryside, some really good news on the countryside area. We got over £200,000 out of Safer Streets to support our Safer Countryside, and it's called Rural Eye, I think we talked about drones on this, but it's important to support the volunteers. I've met with obviously farmers, I've met with the NFU, our police officers, and there's so much more we can do. But in Durham, we are very, very lucky to have some excellent volunteers. What we've got now is we've got coordinators that will then give that sort of oversight as their job to develop the work that we're doing and to continue that excellent work that they are doing. I think we've used drones. I've seen things in what Northumbria are doing, but Durham's been doing that for a long time, and they are innovative. But the main thing is it's actually managed, led by the volunteers themselves, and the police will say themselves, we support them, they don't support us because there's more of them, and they are absolutely fantastic doing the crime fighting as well. So that's some really good news to see. I've also been going to the farmers market, and I think that's a really good opportunity to engage with the farming community, pick up any rural issues. I know a lot of times when we go into the summer events, there's always issues around firearms licenses and delays or temporary licenses. So going there on a regular basis, we'll be able to take that information up. I also raised the issue. We had a theme at the most recent executive board, which was all about the safer countryside. I raised those issues up, and also those police in the areas, in rural areas, how we develop that. So there's some really good, some really probing questions, but some good responses in relation to the safer countryside. Looking at accountability, the meeting took place on this week. Again, another issue key for us, and I'm sure we've got people in our wards that work in shops and retail, and the issues that we've had recently around violence, threats, and abuse, as well as the shoplifting. That meeting that we had, the questions came from obviously our retail community, but also residents who were working in that area. Really probing questions and got really some detailed answers from the police on that. But also, if you do watch it, because I think, Sweetie, can you send that link round to members as well when it's available? I think you'll see on there how committed Rachel is for people to come forward, sort of drawing a line, that's the past, this is now, given the confidence that she wants that interaction. She wants people to come forward, taking things really seriously. Been a lot of investment. We've now got some dedicated people on the ground, but it's a big issue. And I've recently pulled together a safer business group, which will bring the key regional managers for the big shops, but we've also got the Federation of Small Businesses, we've got the regional business crime group, and so hopefully we really am working with bids, etc., and to see what we can do. And again, Darlington is with the refresh of Shopwatch. It's shown that actually with the radios, with the signage, with the pulling people together, it can deter. But we know that from me visiting shops and speaking to the managers, you've got there is some issues around cost of living. People are stealing nappies and milk and small items. You've got people who are going every day, abusing the staff, those people who've got addictions and substance misuse issues. And then we've got the serious and organised crime groups who are targeting supermarkets, stealing thousands of pounds through drink every day. And they might be going to Sedgefield, Newton Aycliffe, Darlington, over to Bishop Auckland in one day, thousands of pounds. So the Minister for Policing is really wanting us to, all forces, to join up with in relation to facial recognition, to understand what is actually happening and the impact it's having on this side of it, to target the serious and organised crime. For the alcohol and drugs, the issue is where we've seen some successes, not necessarily taking them through the courts, it's actually getting those people into treatment and rehabilitation. There's been some really successes in West Midlands and Sussex that, again, we're trying to target and pilot, but there needs to be some incentive for the people to engage. So the good thing is that there's a real priority for it, putting the focus on. We've definitely seen an impact that the business watch groups are making, but pulling this group together, we can build on what's already there and overcome some of the issues, be it regionally or nationally or locally, and take it forward. So I'll keep you, again, if anybody's got anything to add on that, we can talk about it, or you can drop me a line. So we've talked about the ASB pilots. I think it's going really well. I think from my side, there's a lot of key information. We know it's Neighbourhood Policing Week this week, so if there's anything positive, if you're living in your ward area, it's a nice opportunity to give some credit to your local officers as well, who are working hard in your communities to help us prevent crime. And I think the prevention, one of the things that Rachel will say, is that's the key aspect, is getting to do more on the prevention side. So in the hotspot areas, one of the things that she's quite keen to do is to get all those residents signed up to keep in the know. So if you sign up to keep in the know, you can get the information out, you can get the prevention messages out to the public. So I think the local teams will be getting that aspect. And I know I spoke to Graham, I said, I think this is coming down the line, so give them a bit of a heads up to help with the officers. But I think for me, knocking on doors and getting people signed up is a really good thing, because if it's dark nights, if your curtains are closed, you won't even see the hotspot policing in that area during the winter months. So I'll end it there, and it's open to anybody, any questions. I can see Councillor Tom's got his hand up.
Hi. It was just a question about the supermarkets and the shoplifting, because I've heard that supermarkets don't prosecute for anything under £200, which means that a lot of people are walking in blatantly and back out because they know they're not going to be prosecuted.
This was something that was raised, I know, in Parliament as well. I think it was something that was introduced a while ago, and we said something to say that isn't necessarily so. But what we have got in supermarkets, what I find is, for instance, I went to when I was like in an area, and you have all your supermarket managers telling us all the things that were happening in their supermarket, and the police were looking like, what are you talking about? This is news to me. I don't know anything what you're saying, and it's because one is the time it was taken to use to phone. They had a shrinkage, so they had their own security, and they didn't phone the police. They didn't go on 101. The police weren't aware of it, and we were all sort of completely oblivious to the issue in that particular area. Now what we're doing is we encouraging the businesses to use Centrisys, and Centrisys allows them to record the issue and also upload CCTV evidence. And I think it's that getting that message out that they will be taken serious. And for me, as well as the crime, it's the antisocial behaviour, it's a harassment, alarm, distress that our shop workers have to endure if you have to go to work every day. Normally, if you're a victim of crime, you would avoid where you've been assaulted or been a victim. If you've got a mortgage or rent to pay, you cannot avoid going to work. And like I say, everybody who visits some of the shops, you see some really horrific things, and they're experiencing that every day. So any of those things that, when you've got an issue, you need to report it. You need to get it, obviously the information, and also there's a single point of contact for every area from a PCSO. So we're quite keen to get that information out to the areas as well. So it's something we're definitely picking up. We do sort of, where there's issues, that it will be taken serious and it will get a response. But where you are focusing on retail crime, that response has to come from somewhere else. So prevention is definitely the key, and getting people as much supported as we possibly can to tackle that.
Yeah, I know, because I had the same sort of thing from the corner shop, which is Morrison's local now, and they weren't reporting, even though we were encouraging them and trying to get them online to do it. But also I've been supporting some homeless people with addictions who were resorting to stealing from the supermarkets, the alcohol, as you say, to go and sell in pubs.
Yeah.
And it was like making sure they were housed and safe, so they then didn't continue creating crime. And that was really,
I think that just on that, one of the things I didn't mention, I think it's really, really important that you've just said there, is it's those people who are handling stolen goods. That is a key, because the people who steal because they can get some money for the drugs. But if they steal and that person's gone, they're not going to be standing in the super. It's going to be harder for them. And in that's a way, that's probably what we need to get more people into the treatment. And the government is putting a lot of money in that area, but we just need to make sure that support's there, that signposting's there. And I think all that, what I've mentioned about the testing on arrest, really, really important to have that referral mechanism. So please keep encouraging and just say that this is really important. And we are making it, obviously trying to make it easier. And in a few months' time, single online home will expected to come into the force. I think it's about March, April time, isn't it, sweetie, if we're lucky? And that will definitely quicken up all the processes. So one of the questions that the supermarket said to me, even if they've got centricis, they have to get a number to put in, so they still have to go on the phone to get the number that they can then put in, which again is not very it's a bit time consuming. So once we get the single online home, that barrier will be reduced. So it's, I think, in the next couple of months, again, as soon as it's starting now already, but we can pass that on to members. Sweetie, can you give just as a note to members what's currently going through the single online home, because it is in stages. So anybody who's reporting, I think it's domestic abuse and sexual violences, there's some issues there to make it easier, but I think it's just been widened out recently.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Joy. Thanks for the presentation. It's been really interesting and useful. And unfortunately, I didn't see the drones because it was too windy the day I went. So they would put them up.
Yeah.
My question is about funding and boundaries, and you're probably fed up of being asked this. But when the government changed the ward boundaries quite a few years ago now, the part of Northgate that I live in was in the old central, and is still in that area for the police boundaries. Unfortunately, when money's given to Northgate from the police, it doesn't come to this side of Northgate because we're not in the same boundary. And I wondered if there was anything we could do to get the boundaries changed. Are you with me?
Yeah, and I think this does link back, Sonia, to reporting as well, because the reason when we target areas, it's targeted because it's saying there's a problem here, and what the thing that we have got probably going forward is in a ward, rather than you targeting a ward like Central or Northgate or an area, it's actually probably streets, so it's really a lot narrower. So rather than you working like that, you can really target your resources. So the idea of safer streets is you could be talking 3 or 4 streets, and that way your resources can go further. So what we've seen in other areas, and this is for me going forward, I really want to invest in more technology to give us more like Power BI tools that can then use it to make us more targeted around where we're going. So that's obviously going to cost some money, but I think, to be honest, the investment will pay off because it'll give everybody the information that it's got. We've got too many systems who necessarily aren't talking to each other. And again, this is an opportunity when you are on a hotspot pilot. You're hearing what other people are doing, and you can say, well, how are you doing that, and what have you got, what are you using? And we've just recruited what's Zana's title, sweetie? Zana's title?
She's the head of information. No, she's the. Yeah. Bear with me.
Well, she's good.
she's got a long title.
She's from NIAS, and she's like, I think when people come from the technical background, when they can make it simple, I think they're quite clever, because I think that's to understand it, they can say, right, this is what we need, this is what it can do. And I know, just to give you an example, which is like, you think that can't be happening. At the moment, for the hotspot work, it takes 55, I think she said 55 hours to manually go through some of the data to identify where to do that mapping of the exercise. So what we're saying is, if you have got some funding from a government, we need to have, what is it? It's going to stop that time to give her something at a press of a button. If the information comes in, the information comes out. But there is still, despite, we are in a technology age, there is a lot of work we need to do around our IT systems. And there's a lot happening recently, and so we've got the telephony right. The next thing is about the getting the data right, so we can do that. So that again links, Sonia, to that reporting. So if it's in a street, in an area that's like, it's disguised by generally of awards, health and well-being, and the super output areas, that street will still show up if it's been recorded and reported as it needs to. Sweetie, you're going to say what the title is?
Yep, it's Digital Data and Technology Manager. That's
And
what
I think
DDAT.
I don't know if I know Amanda's on the call, but she came from NIAS, and she said NIAS are really, really good. I mean, really ahead of the game with what they've been doing. So I think we have to bring this up as quick as she can. So we stand a fighting chance, and like I say, we've got less resources, but we can be more effective if we get the data right.
Thanks,
anybody?
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Anybody else? No, well, that's good. I'll see it. If what I was thinking might be helpful, sweetie, those notes that we've done, it might be worth just sharing it with, because I know people have different diaries and commitments and things, but also as members, you might want to report things yourselves to your, if you have any surgeries at a local level, so you can use my notes to inform you with things, because I haven't covered the whole sheet that was, otherwise I'd have been here for another half hour, I think, when that's sweetie, but there is some detail there. And then if there's anything in there that you want to probe me about or ask any questions or add, you can just get in touch with me. But I think it might be helpful, because there's a lot of work goes in to get you the information for Darlington specifically. We'll circulate it around all members, and then you've got it to hand. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully see you this evening. Take care.
Thanks now.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.